Welcome to Monday with the Mavens. Today we are talking about the invisible killers.
You're supposed to do it in this voice. Today we're talking about the invisible killers.
The killers.
The killers
of your hormones.
The ones that are going in and killing you slowly.
I think we're scaring people.
Yeah, it's weird. It's not really who we are.
Oh, okay. So for reals.
But we are talking about invisible killers.
We are. And by that, we mean toxins. And we're talking about all things toxins. So things that we put on our body, things that we put in our body, things that are in our environment. Man, I know there's so much information out there about this, but we want to try to just break it down, keep it simple, talk about the lowest hanging fruit in terms of what we can all do to make some pretty significant impacts on our endocrine system, which affects our metabolism. Because these toxins, so things like body care products that have all these different ingredients in it, we'll just use that as an example, and we're going to get into that in much more detail. What happens is those go in your body and they disrupt your entire endocrine system. So they affect the way that your hormones express themselves. They can affect your insulin, and they can have a profound effect on your metabolism, making it more difficult for you to shed fat, which we know is probably of interest to most of our audience.
Yeah.
So let's just jump in. And along the way, if you have questions, if you have products that you've swapped out, if you have things that you want to share, like absolutely please do. We had some questions that came in earlier for specific product replacements. And we're not here to promote any particular product, anything like that, but we do have some suggestions, and then we have some tools we're going to share with you guys where you can go and put in anything that you want, and it'll give you a good replacement. So we're excited to jump in.
Yeah, I used to have an app on my phone. I can't remember what it's called. I'll look it up, and I was about to say put it in the show notes. We don't have show notes.
This is a show. We'll put it in the show notes.
I'll put it in the show notes. Maybe someday we will have an actual podcast and we'll put things in show notes.
Oh, it's coming.
But anyway, I used to have an app where you could go to the grocery store and scan a barcode, and it would tell you like where that was. Having a little bit of a hard time connecting. Hopefully you guys will stay connected. Yeah. Because that's where we put things from Facebook onto YouTube. Anyway, yeah, so I used to be able to scan a barcode and see like where the level of toxicity of that product or that thing that you're about to eat lands. And I think that's a really helpful tool. And I'm sure that there are lots of apps out there currently that do the same thing. But yeah, when we're talking about toxins, you guys, we're talking about, I mean, let's be real. We can't avoid toxins. They're in our air, they're in our water, they're in our soil, they're in our foods. They're in the products that we put on our skin. They are in the perfumes that we wear. They're in our clothes. They're in the food storage. I mean, we are surrounded by toxins, but there's a lot of things that we can do, and we'll get to this along the way, but things that you can do to help detox your body and to help keep your body as healthy as possible, even while experiencing some of these toxic things that we all do.
Yeah, and we talk about all things metabolism all the time, right? And so we just thought this would be a good subject. We're not here to scare people. We're not here to say like, you can't use this, you can't use that. Like, you're an adult, you can make your own decisions, you can decide what's important to you, but all these things add up. And so sometimes just making some small, simple changes, especially with things maybe you're using every day, can really make a huge impact over time. And so first, I think we should just break it down. And we both have some notes, some of which we'll refer to, some of which we're just going to chat. We're just going to have a conversation. But I wanted to say this in a very specific way, so I wrote it down. And that's just like how toxins can disrupt your hormone function. And we talk about hormones a lot because of their impact on our metabolism and on our fat storage. So toxins can mimic certain hormones and confuse the chemical messages that go to your metabolism in terms of how your metabolism relies on those messages to function.
Sorry, my cat's very interested in what Emmy's saying.
So in theory, when we're looking specifically at fat storage, when that mimicking process can happen, it can cause insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is oftentimes what promotes fat storage. So you have these toxins, they go into your body, they're mimicking particular hormones, which can create insulin resistance, which we've talked a lot about in the past. And then that insulin resistance leads to fat storage. Now, there are a number of different things that can lead to fat storage. This is just one of them, but it's one that we should be aware of, because if we're not mindful of some of these things, and there's a lot of people that are going through life that are feeling super frustrated because they're feeling like they're doing a lot of the things and they're just working against themselves. And so I do want to go back to the basics. Like, before you evaluate all the things you use in your home, like, first and foremost, just getting your nutrition in check is going to be the best thing that you can do for yourself, because that's going to help the detoxification process anyways, depending on what you're eating and how you're fueling yourself. So we always like to go back to basics. But specifically, most of the hormones that are affected in relation to metabolism, specifically from a toxin mimicking standpoint, are going to be insulin, leptin, ghrelin, thyroid, cortisol, and then there's a whole host of others, but those are going to be the ones that you most commonly recognize.
And like when we talk about like insulin and ghrelin, and those are like hormones that affect our appetite. So if you think about it, you know, we're taking in these toxins, whether intentionally or not intentionally, it's affecting these hormones that are causing us to be maybe more hungry, maybe more stressed out, which then causes our bodies to want different things, whether it's appetite suppressing or appetite inducing, and then we want to eat things that we shouldn't. There's really a lot at play here. And so like when we talk about...
I was taking my gum out, sorry.
But when we talk about like our hormones and how they're affected, like it's a big deal, you guys. Yeah. And so like, yes, we are not here to scare you, but like also don't take it super lightly, because there is a lot of low hanging fruit. And you guys can take advantage of there's a lot of easy things that you can do to help improve the situation here. And now we're really focusing on the toxins that affect metabolism, but there are so many toxins out there, and they really do affect all body systems. So yes, metabolism is one of those, but metabolism is related to all of our other body functions. Yeah. So when we take in lots of toxins, there are a lot of like autoimmune issues that people have because of toxins, like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, obesity, cardiovascular issues. I have like a whole list of stuff. Early puberty, like, you know, girls are starting their periods really, really early now. And a lot of that is due to like the toxins that we're taking in, whether it's antibiotics that we're giving cows from the dairy that we're drinking, or plastics. I mean, there's
the estrogens, the phthalates that come from that. Like it,
there's
a whole other subject, you guys, to look at the impact on the female reproductive system, and especially our young girls. Like that's a whole nother topic, but that's something that's been of interest to me and for a long time, because I've seen it like clinically, all these girls that are having hormone dysregulation at a really young age, and boys too. The lowering testosterone rate younger and younger in boys, and increase in estrogen in boys, and a increase in estrogen at a younger age in girls, and early puberty in both. Like a lot of that has to do with our environment and with what's in our environment, and so much of it has to do with these hormone dysregulators, a lot of them being toxins. And so when we talk about toxins, I like to break it down into categories. And I just wrote some of them down here, and we're going to jump into a little bit of these just so that we can define what we're talking about. So the first one, which I think almost everybody is aware of, is pesticides, right? So that's going to be on a lot of the foods that we eat. And I'm just going to say them, and then maybe we jump into them. Yeah. So there's pesticides, there's contaminated water, which is actually a huge issue for a lot of people.
Have you seen the movie Erin Brockovich? That came out in the 90s with Julia Roberts. Yeah. And it like did something to me. Like, it made me like fired up.
We actually need to we live on a well, and we haven't had our water retested in a long time. And my son, although he has like really what I would consider a really clean environment, we've had his heavy metals tested, and he notoriously comes back for a couple items that make us retest our water. And so those are things that some people just don't think about, because we have good. You never know, and not everybody has the ability to naturally detoxify as well as others too. So pesticides, contaminated water, EMFs, which are the electromagnetic forces that are around us, silver fillings, like if
amalgam.
Yeah.
They're called.
Oh no.
And hello.
So we were having a little bit of connection issues on both Instagram and Facebook. So if we pause, we apologize. And then cosmetic and bath products is a huge one, because when you're looking what you're putting on your body and what you're putting in your body, that's going to probably have one of the most profound impacts. And so that's like when we talk about like silver fillings, like they're in your body, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And then just things in your home, in your environment, like even something in new construction, looking at spray insulation, like you might want to consider an alternative option. Like there's a number of things that you can look at. We're not here to scare anybody, but we are going to look at like best case scenario, lowest hanging fruit, right?
Yeah.
And so if we start at the top,
pesticides, right?
Yeah, we're going to start with pesticides. Now, we do have a tool on our website, macromavens.life. You click the toolbox, and it's the Dirty Dozen Clean 15. And we've talked about this before. We don't want to overcomplicate it. Food is expensive, but especially when it comes to your produce, if you can focus on the items that are the dirtiest and at least try to replace some of those with organic options, that's going to be probably the best or the least barrier to entry, instead of having to buy all organic, unless you're in a position to do that. So that's a great tool we have on there, because pesticides are awful.
Yeah, and one of the things too about pesticides, and you know, I think that the heart behind the pesticide is good. Oh, Instagram. You guys, our connection is poor, sorry. The heart behind pesticides is good. You know, farmers work really hard to produce the amount of food and enough food for us to eat good, right? And so the job of a farmer is very difficult. And if they have a crop that can do so much better, if they spray a pesticide on it because they have a grasshopper or whatever bug it is, it's going to decimate that crop, which then, you know, affects the family, which then affects the whole food chain, right? Like, I fully understand the heart of farmers and needing to use pesticides. I get it.
I'm a farmer.
Yeah, I get it. But what is so unfortunate is that we have created an industry where we have these giant farms, thousands and thousands of acres producing so much of our foods. And we're really relying on these huge farms to produce the foods for the majority of the people in our country, instead of relying on our neighbor down the road who has a farm. Anyway, this is a whole other topic. I'm getting on a soapbox. Let me climb down for a minute. Anyway.
I like it when she soapboxes. She's been doing it more lately too. I feel like you've been soapboxing more than me.
A little bit. I have been. Well, and I just feel like things are just a little bit backwards in society.
A lot of it backwards.
Yeah.
And like, it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, we should be able to rely on our neighbors who have property, who grow crops to help provide food for us, and then us to provide different things for them. Like, it should be this communal living that used to happen before the Industrial Revolution. When the Industrial Revolution came, it changed the world the way we see it. And so we have these giant farms that the entire country depends on to produce these huge amounts of crops, and they can't do it without pesticides. I get it. But what's unfortunate,
they could do it without pesticides.
Well,
anyway. They don't do it because it's not cost effective.
Right.
And that's part of the whole problem.
Yeah, totally. They're kind of in a pickle. And so what happens is year after year after year of using these pesticides, not only are the plants that we're eating toxic in so many ways, but then the soil becomes depleted of the nutrients that it needs because of the fertilizer. Anyway, guys, we will post the tool on the Clean 15. The Dirty Dozen. And if you can buy organic, that is the best choice. Actually, the best choice is to grow your own food. If you can grow your own food, which a lot of people cannot, then purchasing organic would be best.
You can. And if you are, if you're on a budget, which most people are, at least identifying some of the ones, it really comes down to the thickness of the skin, right? And so looking at the difference in some of the top pesticide-ridden produce items and trying to at least prioritize those to purchase organic, that can make a big difference. Also your meats, once again, like, food is expensive. If you can buy from local farmers, if you know where your meat and your vegetables are coming from, that can make a huge difference. There's also CSAs. I know in our area, there's a good handful of them, depending on where you live. There's also some online programs where you can get the imperfect foods,
like the
sent
seconds,
to you, like the seconds that are organic. So you can get creative on a budget. It might take a little bit of legwork up front, but in the course of time, it can make a really big difference. We're reconnecting over on Instagram here. And then, you know, we talk about foods from the ground, foods from the sea, foods that walk around, foods from the air. Like if you can keep it to whole foods, and then you can try to minimize the pesticides and the antibiotics that you are ingesting, that is best case scenario. And so that just breaks it down from a food standpoint. But once again, we do have that tool. It's just a handy dandy little tool on our website that you can print off. We're also going to take this information, and I say this, and then I'm gonna have to do it.
Yeah, say it.
We're gonna take this information and we're gonna make like a condensed overview, because it's so much information, to really break it down into the categories and the tools for each category, and things that are the lowest hanging fruit for each category. Pun intended.
Well, let's talk for just another minute about pesticides. We're not just talking about the pesticides that they use in like big corporations, like glyphosate and all of like, you know, the big names, or like Roundup that people spray to kill bushes. But let's talk about like the stuff that we do use around our own homes, like Roundup, or, you know, to get rid of poison oak or blackberries or whatever it is, you know, all of those things. Like, we live on property just outside of town. And so we really try hard not to use, and we have a stream that runs through our property like seasonally in a pond. And we really try hard not to use things that are going to seep into the groundwater, because we drink the groundwater. And so there are a lot of things that you can do that are not toxic, like vinegar, you guys. Like vinegar will kill poison oak. Vinegar, especially if you cut it and then you spray vinegar on it. Same with blackberries. It takes a little bit more legwork, a little bit more elbow grease to kind of get through some of that stuff. So just be careful about the things that you are putting on your lawn, on your plants, on your garden, you know, different things like that, because it does have an impact, and that's something that you can actually be in control of right now.
Yeah, and one site we're going to probably bring up a lot while we're on here, and we can put this in the show notes. We'll put it in the comments. But I think that it's a really good tool, and there's several different pages on there that you can go to, but it's just called ewg.org. And if you go in, you can put in any product, depending on the page you're on, and it's going to tell you what the toxicity load is, and I believe also an alternative. And we do have a really good sheet for things to avoid and some potential alternatives. So if you guys have specific questions, we've had some come in that we're going to address here in a little bit. But ewg.org, and I think there's an app. It might have even been associated with the app that you previously used, but to my knowledge, it's like the largest database that's out there. One thing I just want to say, I meant to start it with this, is, you guys, this is crazy. Like this is crazy. First of all, BPA is found in 9 out of 10 Americans. Like
plastic, you guys.
Plastic,
like a chemical used to make plastic.
And that is changing us at a cellular level, which is like so wild. The other thing, so phthalates and PBDE, which are flame retardants, are found in 99% of pregnant women, which means that that's going into the fetus. Like, that's wild. And then this is the one that is crazy. So 232 toxic chemicals were found in umbilical cord blood for U.S. newborns. 232 chemicals, you guys. Now, there's a lot of chemical compounds out there, right? But if we would have tested that like years and years ago, I mean, you look at the rise of a number of things, at autism, at early onset diabetes, like childhood diabetes, like
obesity,
obesity, ADD,
autoimmune
ADHD,
issues,
autoimmune, like in our youth. And like as a mom, I'm speaking from personal experience, and like it's scary. And so anything that we can do to just be more educated, more informed, and to make some small shifts, like we never know what that's going to result in, because it's only getting worse, right? Like our environments, as far as what we're exposing ourselves to every day, what we're putting in our body, what we're putting on our body, we have control of that. And so I've just recently started to kind of reconsider. Years ago, I went through kind of everything in my home, all the things, and I don't know, it's just easy to get back into habits. Like I really like deodorant with aluminum in it, which is awful, but like it works better for me. And so like I asked myself that question, like risk reward, like, you know, those are all things we have to ask ourselves individually. And I'm like the last person that should be using aluminum based deodorant.
It's true.
Yeah. Anyways,
She tried to keep it a secret from me for a long time, and then we traveled together, and I was like, "What's this? Whose is this?"
it's fine because like I would love to use natural based deodorants, but you don't want to be around me with my body would adjust. It would. I just have to I'd have to let it adjust.
But now you know what she has to do. She needs to detox her pits.
Yeah. Talk to us about that. We're getting off subject, but I think it's really cool. I think people would be interested in it.
Yeah, well, I don't know a ton of information about it, but so if you do use like a regular everybody uses over the counter deodorant, but a deodorant that has aluminum or even fragrance in it, really, then those toxins do build up. And let's think about it, right? In our armpits, this is a very sensitive place as far as like female hormones, your lymph nodes. You've got tons of lymph nodes in there that like you're swiping deodorant right on the skin over your lymph nodes, you guys. Yeah. It's a big deal. And
it's very porous. It's where our sweat comes out. So you're absorbing that right into, I mean, it's
going in. Whatever you're putting in your armpits is going into your body. And so for years and years and years, I used just regular aluminum antiperspirant deodorant because I didn't want my armpits to sweat, because who wants a wet shirt? Because nobody else on the planet sweats in their arms. Only me. Sweat. And so,
although I think I sweat more than you.
I don't know. I was dripping this morning. Anyway, so I went through a whole process of detoxing my armpits, and I bought a product, an armpit detoxifier, and I'd wash with it. And I
thought you use rubbing alcohol.
Well, and you can do that too. You can, or apple cider vinegar. I used that for a while, but I felt like I smelled like a salad. But rubbing alcohol, or like my sister-in-law used to have a business where she would sell this product that was it was an armpit detox. Yeah. And if I can find it, maybe I'll post it. But anyway, you can buy it. You can use rubbing alcohol. For a long time, I didn't use any deodorant. I used rubbing alcohol or apple cider vinegar on my armpits. It kills the bacteria, which is what smells. Like if you have body odor, it's usually because you have some kind of bacteria. And so if you can get rid of the bacteria in your armpits, then you shouldn't stink, technically. Yeah. Now, if I do have a really garlicky dinner, I will sweat and smell like garlic the next day.
I don't mind it.
But she doesn't complain. She can't smell. So anyway, so there is a detoxification process for your armpits that you should go through. And I feel like that is very low hanging fruit for everybody. Yeah. Nobody should be using aluminum. Nobody should be using antiperspirant. Like our bodies were made to sweat. If we're stopping a natural process as far as like sweating is our detoxification process, you guys. When we sweat, we are getting rid of the nasties, getting rid of the toxic stuff in our bodies. That's what the system was made for. And it cools us. And so if you're putting deodorant on your armpits that has aluminum that's stopping you from sweating, for one, you're stopping the detoxification process. And toxins build over time. Yeah. So it's a toxic load that you are continuously giving your body day after day after day after day.
And that's where those hormone disruptors come in, right? It's not like a one and done, bam, wham. Right. It's like a buildup over time that disrupts our natural hormone regulation that affects our metabolism and every other bodily system, and ultimately our ability to shed fat. Yeah. And so like I'm being shamed right now because
I'm not shaming you.
I'm shaming myself, which is not healthy. But it's funny, and we're gonna move on. But I've said this on here before, but I had to have a bilateral mastectomy, and for whatever reason, because I was using natural deodorant before that, and for whatever reason, after I went through that, I was like, well,
I don't even have breast tissue.
I don't have breast tissue anymore, so I'll just use the deodorant that works for me, which is awful, right? Yeah. And so
because your lymph nodes also produce hormones for the rest of your body.
Absolutely. And I'm so careful about so many other things. Yeah. And so once again, it's that risk reward, right? And so I'm making a public declaration that I am making the switch again.
And we will check back with her shortly.
Check back.
We're going to check back. We're going to ask.
Last time I made a public declaration, I did really good for a while, and then I...
Yeah. Should we talk about that? We don't need to talk about that.
No. Okay, we're going to move on. Okay, so we are going to get into more specifics, you guys. I know we're being a little bit broad, but we're going to get into some real good specifics here in a little bit. We talked about pesticides. We didn't want to spend too much time on it because we have that great tool on our website that you can use, you can look at, and that one's pretty straightforward. Contaminated water. I also don't want to spend too much time on this, but I do think it's worth all of us looking. I mean, we talk about the importance of water all the time, right? Like hydration is so important for everything, for energy, for sleep, for metabolism, all of it. But with the amount of water we want ourselves and all of you drinking, you should look at the quality of your water. And so whether you're on a well or you're on city water, consider a good filtration system. There's some really, really great ones out there. I have a whole list of the ones that have been like well researched, if that's something you guys want to look at. And if you're on a well, like because things change in soil, having your water retested, like we're way past due to have our well water retested, and we need to do that. And regardless of your area, you're going to have a place you can go in and take that to look at it, and so that you can make some educated decisions on making sure that what you're putting in your body is actually helping you.
Yeah, and if you are in the Southern Oregon area, I know a lot of you are. It's Nelson Research something. In downtown Medford, they do all of the testing for water, so you can take a sample into them, and I don't think it's very expensive.
It's not.
We should probably have our water tested also. Yeah. Again.
Let's both do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, we're not going to spend a lot of time on EMFs either, because that's a huge rabbit hole, but just know that...
It's a deep, dark rabbit hole, you guys.
Deep, dark. So that's basically, we're talking about like electromagnetic frequencies, right? And
like Wi-Fi, microwaves, like radio, like all the things we can't see.
And that is something that maybe we should do a deep dive into at some point, because so much new research is coming out, because like as technology has changed over the years, our constant exposure to EMFs is changing us at a cellular level. So anything that you can do to either put maybe some form of an EMF blocker on your computer if you're in front of it all the time, on your cell phone if you're on it all the time, if it's on your body, pay attention to where on your body it is. A lot of people keep it in their pocket so close to their pelvic region all the time. That is really, really unhealthy. That's something I've been trying to be very aware of. And then turning wireless off when you can. We turn wireless off in our house at night. And it actually, I don't know, it could be coincidental, but I saw a shift in my sleep data when we started doing that. So I do think that that's something just to be aware of, and something that you can do your own research on, and or we can provide more information. But it is a deep, dark rabbit hole, and a little bit of a controversial one, which we're not afraid of.
We're not afraid of controversy, no.
Okay. Silver fillings.
Amalgam. Now, if you are probably, my age, our age, we're in our 40s.
In your 40s or older.
In your 40s or older, or probably mid-30s and 30s probably have dealt with this. But like when I was a kid and you'd go in to get a filling, it was a silver amalgam filling. And what they didn't know then is how toxic those fillings were. And the fact that we had those in our mouths and we're eating food and disrupting those fillings basically every time you took a bite of something on them. It's pretty remarkable. I read this morning about a gal who had 40-year-old amalgam fillings in her mouth that were continuously off-gassing. So and that's another thing we can't see is like the off-gassing that these toxins do, whether it's our fillings or carpet or whatever. There's a lot of off-gassing, but it doesn't stop. So if you have silver fillings, you need to talk to your dentist and have those removed and replaced with just the white fillings. It's not a painful procedure. I've had all of mine removed out of my mouth and replaced throughout the years. And then you just have to be aware, like your dentist should know how to do that, but make sure that if you do have amalgam fillings that you are wanting to have replaced, that you go to a dentist who knows how to remove them properly and safely. And it's funny, like they have to dispose of those fillings like in like a biohazard bag, and the fact that those are in our mouths is like bananas to me.
And it just tells you how things change over time. There's a really good site if that's something you guys want to get more information on, and or you want to find a biological dentist or somebody in your area that can specialize in swapping those out for you, that is certified in that area. The website is IAOMT.org. IAOMT.org.
Like the letter I.
Yeah, tons of great information. And we can put that in the show notes too. I like that term.
Yeah, so many show notes.
I know. We need to make notes about the show notes we're promising.
Probably should. I should probably make some notes.
Okay, guys, this is the big one that we're probably going to spend a good amount of time on, that you guys had the most questions on, and that is cosmetic and bath products. I think we could even put like home cleaning products in that same, but if we talk about cosmetic and bath products, that's what we're putting on our persons every day. I am not going to go over this entire thing, but I want to read a few things because oh my.
You look really pretty. You look really pretty. The way the light's hitting you looks really nice.
We're not using any type of a filter or anything, and this lighting, I feel like I feel a little swollen today. So I really appreciate that, buddy.
You look real pretty.
Anyway, pretty. Okay, let's talk about this. So I'm just gonna go through a few of these, and then we're gonna actually talk about some specifics. But once again, like if you guys have questions on specifics, if you have tools, if you have favorites, any of that, like please pipe in because we love to hear it, even if it's after the fact, which most people watch this after the fact. Okay, so shampoo, for instance, has an average number of 15 chemicals. So the most worrying one is sodium lauryl sulfate. Possible side effects are neurological damage in the fetus, so if you're pregnant, and then possible eye damage, which is like
how many times do you get shampoo in your eyes when you wash your hair?
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Eyeshadow, average number of chemicals, 26. Most concerning is polyethylene terephthalates. I might not have said that.
If you can't pronounce the things that are in the products you're using, maybe you should reconsider your products.
And the side effect of that specific ingredient is linked to cancer, infertility, hormonal disruptions, and damage to the body's organs.
Let me say something really quickly.
We put these on our bodies, you guys.
Okay, so there's a big... And I wanted to say this earlier, and then I decided not to, and then I got frustrated.
Did you got another soapbox coming?
It's just very minor.
Okay.
It's just very minor. So one of the problems with the United States is we put these chemicals out, and we wait until somebody has a negative reaction to them, and then people start backpedaling. And what's so frustrating about that is instead of doing the homework up front about like this chemical is dangerous, we need to not put it on the product.
The reason they use chemicals is to save money, you guys. It's stupid.
So in Europe, God bless our European friends and neighbors, they test all of their products and chemicals before they hit the market. If they are deemed dangerous or if they cause cancer or anything like that, those products, those chemicals don't hit the market. That's why things look much different if you ever go to Europe. So it's very frustrating when you read this and there's all these things that we have to be so careful about putting on our skin, because even though they do cause these problems, you can still go to wherever, the corner store or your local beauty shop, and buy these things and put them on your body without any recourse. It's just,
and there's very little regulation on how they can be marketed. And so you just learn to look for things, or you find brands you trust.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't have to, you can do an inventory and a replacement overhaul in one sitting, and then you don't have to worry about it.
But the burden is on you, the consumer.
Yeah.
You have to do the work. You cannot trust that the products you're using are, necessarily free of these things. You have to do the work.
Yeah.
You have to research it. You have to read ingredients labels. You have to know what you're looking for, and then make the best educated decision that you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to go through all of these because I have it for lipstick, nail varnish, fake tan, hairspray, deodorant, blush, foundation, perfume, body lotion. I want to hit on a couple of the big ones there. We already talked about deodorant, but the average deodorant has 32 chemicals in it, you guys. And the most worrying, which is what we talked about, is aluminum. And the side effects are organ irritation and hormone disruption. And so even just like Haley suggested, swapping out our deodorant, things like perfume, I mean, it's probably one of the worst, right? Because it is just a chemical, most of it is just a chemical. Average is 250 chemicals. So benzaldehyde, I might be saying that wrong. So, and this transfers over to our partners, right? Like if we're a female, possible side effects, sperm damage, linked to cancer, organ irritation, hormone disruption.
What is that one in?
That's perfume.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
I love a good perfume, you guys.
But there are natural options. There's essential oils. There's things that you can find that really still provide that pheromone reaction that a lot of people are looking for when they're wearing a perfume. Obviously find one that you love, but like there are options. Body lotion, average number of chemicals, 32. And that's even like, there's a lot of natural based body lotions out there. And it gets back to basics, right? Like same thing with our food. We try to stick to the perimeter of the grocery store so that you're eating whole foods, right? Same with products we put on our body. Like don't overcomplicate it. Like it's amazing how far some, Bronner's peppermint soap and some coconut oil can go for your body care. Like, and we'll talk about that. Like it doesn't have to be overcomplicated and it doesn't have to be expensive. With body lotion, the biggest thing is going to be your parabens, right? And we've talked a lot about those. And side effects are, once again, rash, irritation, hormone disruption. Like all of these go back to hormone disruption. It's like, and no wonder why we have a society that is living in a hormone hurricane. And a lot of that has to do with the food we're eating, and a lot of that has to do with our environment and the stress that we're under. But you don't have to live in a hormone hurricane. And we've talked so much about this. Like finding hormone harmony is not that complicated, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful way to live.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to, I think that it would be good just to talk about like some specifics. I don't think we need to go through like all of the actual individual ingredients because you guys are not going to write all those down and remember them.
Like you guys, there are a lot. This is a lot of ingredient, like pages and pages of ingredients that we need to be trying to avoid.
Yeah.
I think what really the best thing to do is to read labels for one. Yeah. Like become an educated consumer, read labels. If there's something on a label that you don't know what it is, if you don't recognize it, Google it, put it through, go to that app and see how toxic this thing is that you're interested in purchasing and maybe putting on your skin or eating or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But really you have to advocate for yourself here. And so like Emmy said, like keeping it simple, like you don't need to go out and buy a super expensive lotion. You can use coconut oil. Coconut oil is a great way to hydrate your skin. Yeah. Just make sure your skin is dry before you put your clothes on. Otherwise you'll get oil stains on your clothes.
And I will say it took me a little bit. Like I used to say Cetaphil is the only thing that will hydrate my skin because I have naturally fairly dry skin. Now when I'm even when I am adequately hydrated, I naturally have a little bit drier skin. And so for the longest time, I tried to switch to coconut oil and I was like, no, it just doesn't fully hydrate me. My skin had to go through a process, right? And so I kept going back to Cetaphil because for whatever reason, it keeps me super moisturized, but it is not best case scenario for my skin. And so I have found some alternatives. I use an apricot oil that I really like, but I do use coconut oil, and it took being consistent for a little bit for my body to basically recalibrate to be hydrated.
Detox. Like you have to detox. Like if you're putting toxic chemicals on your skin every single day and then you quit, your body has to go through a natural detoxification process in order to get rid of that detox. And we'll get into like the things you can do to help detox, but making sure that you are properly hydrated is number one. Like water. Again,
it's the basics.
The longer Emmy and I are at this, the more basic it becomes. It is about water. It is about hydration. That's the same thing. Yeah. It is about nutrition. It is about sleep. It is about moving your body, like
stress resilience.
It is just like, keep it simple. But hydration, you guys, will help to detoxify your body. But you got to go through that process. It's just like if any of you out there have quit like eating sugar, like I'm going to quit sugar cold turkey, or caffeine. Let's use caffeine as probably a better example. If you quit, or alcohol, or anything that is toxic to our bodies. If you quit caffeine one day, like there is a detoxification process your body goes through. It is used to having caffeine every day. You will have a headache most likely for a couple of days before your body is fully ready to move on, right? You have detox from the caffeine, you're done having headaches, and then you feel great. Like, it's our body's natural process. When we give it the same thing over and over and over again, and we expect a certain outcome, and then we take that away from our bodies, then we have to our bodies have to adjust to that. And so it's all naturals. When you quit eating sugar and you get a headache, or like, that's all normal.
Yep, it is. And so I am going to give some specific examples just because some of you guys requested them. But I do want to go back to that ewg.org site is where you can put in anything that you're using. And there's different pages on there. One specifically, if you do ewg.org/skin deep, it's going to do a lot of the body products. We did have somebody specifically ask about suggestions for a clean, toxic-free makeup brand. And the top ones suggested are Maya's, Mineral Fusion, Beauty Counter, Rejuva Minerals, and Well, with the E being a 3. So W3LL. And then we did have some questions regarding specific like facial products. I've used for a couple of years now, and it's made a big difference. Well, I use a couple of different things, but I use Eminence. It's all like food-based skincare. It's not cheap, but my skin's come a long ways. Now, a lot of that has to do with nutrition and hydration, and like I've never had great skin. It's something that I've worked at, and I'm still working at. And I do have an amazing gal that has helped me with that, Miss Kendra. But between that and some DMK products, Eminence is a great brand that I personally use that I really enjoy. So, and I don't know if you...
I use Tula. Tula's it's a food-based, not a program.
You've always had really good skin.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I believe in hydration and good nutrition.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that is the biggest foundation to good skin.
Yeah.
It really is. And my skin has changed a ton since I've dialed that in better. Like, it's just your skin, your hair, your nails, all of it. Like, right?
Yeah.
Like, our exterior expresses what's going on in our gut.
It's true.
It just does.
Yeah. So I like Tula products. You can get them at Ulta. They are like probiotic, made with foods, good clean products. I really like that. I also use some doTERRA products that I like, with essential oils and different things like that. So, and I don't wear like face makeup. Usually I wear mascara, which I probably could clean up my mascara because I just buy cheap, I don't know, probably toxic mascara.
So I don't wear foundation, but I will wear like a spot, I guess spot item. If I need to, spot. I don't know what you'd call it. And I'm trying to remember the name of the brand. It has a purple top, but it's a mineral-based one. And then I just want to touch on a few of these. For moisturizers was another one. So you can just use oils, and that would be like argan oil, jojoba oil, I love apricot oil. Jojoba? I've always said jojoba.
Well, it's spelled with a J.
Yeah, jojoba. You're probably right.
I don't know.
Coconut oil, and then brands, Honest Beauty, Everyone, Paul Pender's, Soap for Goodness Sake are the top clean brands. And we don't want to spend too much time on this. Once again, you can go to that site. I think there was a few other questions as far as specific. I use, for years, I just use pepper. My whole family should use it as shampoo and toothpaste and all the things. Like when we're backpacking, we just use it for everything.
Everything.
But it's
Castile soap, and they have lots of different.
Hello.
Oh, there we are.
Okay, you guys, we're back. We're poor connection, and we're holding these, and we're in Haley's house that's under construction, if you can see that back there.
Here, maybe let's try to go back.
Okay, sounds good. I'm so sorry about that, you guys. Stick with us, please. We're gonna try. We were at the window.
Okay.
Yay.
Okay. We better wrap this up.
We're gonna wrap it up. Okay, so let's talk about what we can do about it, right? Obviously, the biggest thing is just to stop using the products that you're using as far as minimizing toxins in your body. And it will take some time to flush them out. If you are starting with a clean foundation, if you are fueling your body and your brain with good, clean nutrition, you are hydrating your body, and then you start to recognize and replace some of these items that are consistently building up these hormone disruptors in your body. That's the best thing you can do.
Yeah.
And then there's other things too.
Yeah. So she mentioned hydration, nutrition, sleep. You guys, our bodies naturally detox when we are sleeping. It happens when we are in deep sleep. Yeah. So if you are not getting proper deep sleep, your body is not detoxing as well as it could be. Also, exercising, sweating, getting hot, let your body sweat. If you have a sauna or access to a sauna, That is a great form of detoxification. Letting your body sweat out the nasties is really, really good. But honestly, like, you don't have to do that. You can have proper water intake, good sleep, good nutrition, stress resilience. You know, we talk about these things all the time.
Clean food, clean water, clean air, clean mouth, meaning dental, clean products. Really? It really comes down to that. One other thing that you can do, like, let's say that you are, sorry.
Froggy.
Yes. Let's say that you are already doing the basics, right? Like, start with nutrition, really work on water, prioritize your sleep. Like, those are going to be huge. But let's say you're doing those things and then you're starting to remove some of these products and you want to move things a little bit faster. So lymphatic drainage is really important. You can do that through massage. You can do that through dry brushing. Like, dry brushing is a really, really great way. That's something with my son that I mentioned that has toxicity.
Tell us, explain to us what dry brushing looks like.
Yeah, so dry brushing, it's a brush. There's several different ones out there that are available. They're very inexpensive. And you're using it on your skin, and it's activating your nervous system, and it's activating your lymphatic drainage, and your depending on where you're using it. We're having some connection issues again. I apologize.
We're going to wrap it up real quick. But you're brushing your body towards your heart because you want to get that flowing and get it out.
Yeah, and we can put some resources in there for you guys too. That's just something that I know had made a big difference for my son and makes a big difference for a lot of people. And so really, it's just getting back to basics, you guys. And that's what we're here for. Like, first and foremost is dialing in your nutrition. If you have questions, if you want a free consult, if you want to know how we can help, like, it is amazing the difference that we're getting with our clients. You can go over to macromavens.life. You click the hop on board button. It doesn't commit you to anything. It's a free consult. It lets you connect with one of us, see if we're a good fit, answer any questions. And man, it is like the first step to changing your life. Like, our clients and ourselves, we're changing lives, and it feels so stinking good. And we're so thankful for it.
Amen.
So
on that note, we better go because we lost our Instagram.
Thank you guys so much.
We'll see you next time.